She danced with a stranger to escape her controlling ex, not knowing he was a mafia boss. Now, dangerous people think she matters to him. And the only person who can protect her is the same man who accidentally put a target on her back. He won't let her face this alone. The notification lit up Alina's phone at 11:47 p.m. I can see your bedroom light is still on. Why aren't you sleeping? Her blood turned cold. Ethan wasn't supposed to know where she lived anymore. She'd moved 3 weeks ago, told nobody, paid cash for the deposit on this cramped studio in Brooklyn. Yet somehow, he'd found her again. Alina's hands trembled as she stuffed clothes into her backpack, jeans, 2 shirts, her mother's silver bracelet, the emergency cash she'd been saving in a coffee tin. $900. Enough to disappear for a few weeks if she was careful. Another text. Alina, don't ignore me. I just want to talk. She knew that tone. The false gentleness that came before the storm. 3 years with Ethan had taught her to read the warning signs. The way his voice got softer right before he exploded, how just talking meant hours of him circling her, blocking doorways, making her explain herself until she forgot what truth even sounded like. The final text made her stomach drop. I'm outside. Alina rushed to the window and carefully pulled back the curtain's edge. There, his silver Lexus, parked across the street under a broken streetlight, engine running, waiting. She grabbed her backpack and ran. The stairwell echoed with her footsteps as she flew down 5 flights, bypassing the front entrance for the back alley exit she'd scouted the day she moved in. Always have 2 ways out. That's what the women's shelter counselor had told her. The November air bit at her face as she emerged onto the street. She could hear music thumping from somewhere nearby. The clubs and bars that lined this neighborhood stayed open until dawn.
People meant safety.
Crowds meant witnesses. Behind her, a car door slammed. Alina, wait. Ethan's voice cut through the night. She didn't turn around, didn't slow down. She ran toward the noise, toward the lights, toward anywhere that wasn't here. Her sneakers pounded the pavement as she wove between late-night pedestrians, college kids stumbling home, couples holding hands, a homeless man who shouted something she didn't catch. Her lungs burned. The backpack slammed against her spine with each stride. Alina, stop. You're being crazy. His footsteps were getting closer. He was faster than her, always had been. She needed somewhere to hide, somewhere he couldn't follow. That's when she saw it, a neon sign half hidden beneath a fire escape, the underground. Below it, stairs descended into what looked like a basement entrance, velvet ropes guiding a short line of people inside. The base was so heavy she could feel it in her chest. She didn't hesitate. Alina pushed past the couple at the front of the line, ignoring the bouncer's protest, and plunged into the darkness beyond the door. The club hit her like a physical force, strobe lights slicing through artificial fog, bodies pressed together on a sunken dance floor, the smell of sweat and spilled liquor, and something chemical sweet she couldn't identify. The music was so loud it replaced her heartbeat. She pushed deeper into the crowd, using the dancers as cover, her eyes scanning for another exit, a bathroom, anywhere to hide. The club was bigger than it looked from outside, multiple levels connected by metal staircases, shadowy alcoves with worn velvet couches, a bar that stretched the entire length of one wall. Hey, you can't just run in here. The bouncer from the door was following her, but the crowd was thick and she was small enough to slip between people. She needed a new plan. Hiding wouldn't work if Ethan saw the bouncer making a scene. That's when she spotted him. A man standing near the edge of the dance floor, watching the crowd with the stillness of someone who didn't belong here. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and tattoos that crawled up his neck and disappeared beneath his black t-shirt. He looked dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with Ethan's calculated cruelty. This was something else. Something raw. Their eyes met for half a second. Alina made a decision born of pure desperation. She crossed the distance between them in 4 steps and grabbed his arm. His skin was warm, the muscles beneath tense and coiled. Up close, She could see a scar cutting through his left eyebrow and eyes so dark they looked black in the strobing lights. "Please," she said, loud enough for him to hear over the music. "Just pretend we're together. Just for a minute." He didn't ask questions.
Didn't hesitate.
His hand found the small of her back and pulled her close, close enough that she could smell leather and something sharp like gunpowder. Close enough that when Ethan's voice rang out behind her, "There you are," the stranger's body became a shield between them. "Dance with me," he said, his voice low and rough. And she did. They moved together into the massive bodies, his hand never leaving her back, guiding her deeper into the crowd. Alina pressed her face against his chest and felt his heartbeat, steady, controlled, nothing like her own frantic pulse. Over his shoulder, she caught glimpses of Ethan pushing through dancers, his face red with anger, searching. The stranger shifted their position, turning her away from Ethan's line of sight. They moved like they'd done this 1,000 times, his hands on her waist, her arms around his neck, swaying to a rhythm that had nothing to do with the music. He was protecting her without knowing why she needed protection. "Thank you," she whispered, though she wasn't sure he could hear her. He leaned down, his lips close to her ear. "Who is he?" "Someone I need to stay away from." She felt him nod. Then, over the music, a commotion, security guards descending on Ethan, who was now shouting and pointing. The stranger had somehow signaled them without her noticing. Within 30 seconds, Ethan was being escorted toward the exit, his protest swallowed by the bass. The song changed. The stranger's hands loosened.
"He's gone," he said.
Alina stepped back, suddenly aware of how close they'd been, how her hands had clutched his shirt.
"I'm sorry."
"I didn't mean to." "You needed help." His eyes studied her face with an intensity that made her want to look away. "Are you safe now?" She wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe that this was over, that she could walk out and Ethan would just give up. But she knew better. "I don't know," she admitted. Something shifted in his expression, a decision being made. "Come on," he said, taking her hand. "Let's get you out of here properly." The stranger led Alina through a back corridor she hadn't noticed, past storage rooms stacked with liquor boxes and a kitchen that smelled like grease and bleach. They emerged into a different alley than the one she'd entered from, this one wider and better lit. "Wait here a second," he said, stepping away to scan the street. Alina's heart was still racing. She'd escaped, but for how long? Ethan had found her apartment. He'd find her again. He always did. "Looks clear," the stranger said, returning. "Where are you headed?" "I don't know yet." The truth felt heavy in her mouth. "I just need to get far from here." He studied her with those unsettling dark eyes. "You have somewhere safe to go?" Before she could answer, headlights swept across the alley entrance. That silver Lexus. Ethan had circled the block. "Damn it," Alina breathed, backing up instinctively. The stranger's entire demeanor changed. His casualness evaporated, replaced by something cold and alert. "Stay behind me." Ethan's car stopped at the alley mouth. The door opened and he stepped out, his tie loosened, hair disheveled from the club. When he saw Alina, his face contorted with that familiar mix of hurt and rage he wielded like a weapon. "Alina, enough of this drama," Ethan called out, walking toward them. "Let's go home and talk about this like adults." "I don't want to talk to you," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Leave me alone, Ethan." "You don't mean that." He was closer now, ignoring the stranger completely. "You're confused. That's okay. I forgive you for running off like this." "She told you to leave." The stranger stepped forward, positioning himself between them. "So leave." Ethan finally looked at him, really looked. Alina saw the moment recognition flickered across Ethan's face. The color drained from his cheeks. I didn't realize," Ethan stammered, taking an involuntary step backward. "Mr. Vega, this is just a misunderstanding. My girlfriend and I had a fight." "I'm not your girlfriend," Alina interjected, but both men ignored her. "She doesn't look like she wants to go with you," Vega said, his voice quiet but carrying an edge that made Alina's skin prickle. Walk away. Ethan's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't move closer. His eyes darted between Vega and Alina, calculating. She could see him weighing his options, his pride against whatever fear was now coursing through him. This isn't over, Alina, Ethan said finally, backing toward his car. You can't just run away from us. From what we have. There is no us, she said. Ethan's jaw tightened. He looked at Vega one more time, something bitter twisting his features, then got in his car and drove off. Alina released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Thank you. Again. I don't know what I would've. You shouldn't have involved me. Vega's voice was sharp now, all the gentleness from the club gone. He was looking down the street where Ethan's car had disappeared, tension rolling off him in waves. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause trouble. Too late for that, he turned to face her, and for the first time since they'd met, she felt afraid of him. Do you know who I am?
You're
Vega? She remembered Ethan saying the name with fear. Dante Vega. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that seemed almost frustrated. And your ex clearly recognized me. Is that bad? He let out a harsh laugh. Bad doesn't cover it. There were 3 guys across the street watching that whole interaction. Valdez cartel scouts. They're always watching Mendoza territory. Looking for weaknesses, he fixed her with a hard stare. Ethan backing down like that, me stepping in for you. They'll think you matter to me. That makes you valuable. The words took a moment to sink in. Valuable? What does that mean? It means you just painted a target on your back, Dante said flatly. The Valdez cartel is at war with the organization I work for. They'll see you as leverage. A way to get to me. Alina felt the ground tilt beneath her feet. But I'm nobody. I'm a waitress. I don't have anything to do with any of this. You do now, his expression softened slightly, almost apologetic.
I'm sorry.
If I'd known. He cut himself off. Doesn't matter. What's done is done. So, what do I do? Fear was turning into something else. Anger. I was just trying to escape one nightmare, and now you're telling me I'm in another one? Yeah, Dante said simply. That's exactly what I'm telling you. A car drove past slowly, too slowly. Dante tracked it with his eyes until it turned the corner. We need to move, he said. Standing here makes you an easy target. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Somewhere I can figure out how to fix this mess. He started walking, then paused when she didn't follow. Look, I know this is insane. But those guys aren't like your ex. They won't just follow you home and send texts. They'll take you, hurt you, use you. Your only chance right now is staying close to someone who can protect you. Alina looked back toward the club, toward the street where Ethan had been, toward the life she'd been trying to escape. Everything had gone so wrong so fast. Do I have a choice? She asked quietly. Dante's expression was grim. You always have a choice. But some choices get you killed. Dante took her to a 24-hour diner 6 blocks away. Fluorescent lights, cracked vinyl booths, and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. He chose a corner table facing the door and ordered them both food neither of them touched. Tell me about your ex, Dante said, his eyes constantly scanning the windows. Everything. Why does it matter? Because I need to know what we're dealing with. Is he stupid enough to talk? Alina wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, seeking warmth. Ethan works in finance. Investment banking. He's persistent. Controlling. When I tried to leave him the first time, he convinced my landlord to evict me. Got me fired from my job by calling my boss every day. He's not violent exactly, but he doesn't let go. Great, Dante muttered. A rich stalker with resources. He's not rich. He just acts like it. Rich enough to live in Manhattan and drive a Lexus? Dante's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned, and typed something quickly. That's a problem. Why? Because people like that talk when they're angry. They make calls. They know people who know people. He set his phone down. And right now, he's probably very angry. Alina felt sick. What does that mean? Before Dante could answer, his phone rang. He answered immediately. Yeah. She watched his face darken as he listened. When?
A pause.
How many? Another pause. I understand. No, I'll handle it. He hung up and looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. We need to leave.
Now.
What happened? You're already on a list. He threw cash on the table and stood. The Valdez cartel has put out word. Your name, description, last known address. They're calling you my weak spot. The words felt unreal. But I just met you 2 hours ago. They don't know that. They just know I protected you in front of witnesses. He guided her toward the back exit, his hand on her elbow. In this world, perception is reality. They stepped into another alley. The November wind cut through Alina's thin jacket. This is insane, she said. People don't just end up on cartel hit lists because they danced with someone. You didn't just dance with someone. You danced with me. His voice was hard. I'm an enforcer for the Mendoza Syndicate. That means every move I make gets watched, analyzed, weaponized. The fact that I stepped between you and your ex in public in front of Alda's scouts, that tells them you're important. Whether you actually are doesn't matter. Alina stopped walking. So what? I just accept this? Accept that my life is over because I asked a stranger for help. No, Dante turned to face her. You accept that your life as you knew it is over. What happens next? That's still up to you. What are my options?
Run.
Disappear. Change your name. Move across the country. Never contact anyone from your old life again, he paused. Or you stay close to me until I can neutralize the threat. And how long would that take?
Days. Weeks.
Depends on how this plays out. He checked his phone again. The Valdez cartel leadership is meeting tomorrow night. If I can get word to them that you're nobody, that tonight was a random act, maybe they'll lose interest. But that's a maybe. And if they don't lose interest? Dante's silence was answer enough. A police siren wailed somewhere in the distance. Alina thought about her studio apartment, her waitressing job at the cafe, her best friend Maya, who she hadn't talked to in months because Ethan had convinced her Maya was a bad influence. She thought about her mother's bracelet in her backpack and the $900 that was supposed to buy her freedom. I don't understand how this is my life, she whispered. It's not fair, Dante agreed. But fair doesn't exist where I come from. His phone buzzed again. He read the message and cursed under his breath. What now? Your ex, Dante's expression was dangerous. He's been making calls.
Asking around about me.
About how to get his girlfriend back from some gang member. He looked up at her. He's drawing more attention to you. Making you seem even more important. Can you stop him? I can try. But if he's already talking to the wrong people, Dante trailed off. The Valdez cartel has informants everywhere. Street dealers, club promoters, even some cops. If Ethan's asking questions, word will get back to them. And it'll confirm their suspicions that you matter to me enough for some civilian to be hunting for information. Alina felt the walls closing in. She'd escaped Ethan only to become a pawn in something infinitely more dangerous. I just wanted to be free, she said, her voice breaking. Dante's expression softened slightly. I know. And I'm sorry you grabbed my arm instead of someone else's. But we are where we are. He held out his hand. Decision time. Run alone, or let me help you. She looked at his outstretched hand, scarred knuckles, a tattoo of a serpent winding around his wrist. The hand of someone who lived in violence, but also the hand that had protected her twice tonight when he had no reason to. Alina thought about Ethan's texts, his car outside her window, 3 years of suffocating control. Then she thought about faceless cartel members hunting her through the city. She took Dante's hand. Don't make me regret this, she said. I'll try not to. Dante led her to a black SUV parked 2 streets over. The interior smelled like leather and gun oil. He didn't speak as he drove, taking random turns through Brooklyn's maze of streets, checking the mirrors constantly. Where are we going? Alina finally asked. Somewhere we can talk without being interrupted. He turned down a narrow street lined with shuttered warehouses. I need you to understand exactly what you're walking into. They parked behind an old brick building. Dante killed the engine, but didn't move to get out. In the sudden silence, Alina could hear her own heartbeat. "Here's the truth," Dante said, turning to face her. "The Valdez cartel thinks you're leverage against me. That means they'll try to take you. Not kill you, that would be wasteful. They'll grab you, hold you, use you to make me do what they want or trade you for something they need." "Like what?" "Territory.
Product.
Information." His voice was matter-of-fact, clinical. "Or they'll just hurt you to send a message. To show the Mendoza syndicate that we're vulnerable." Alina felt cold. "You're trying to scare me." Yes, he didn't apologize for it. "Because you need to be scared. You need to understand that this isn't like your ex. There's no restraining order that'll help you. No running to a different apartment. These are people who disappear witnesses and bury bodies in construction sites. Then why are you helping me?" The question came out sharper than she intended. "If I'm such a liability, why not just walk away?" Dante was quiet for a moment. "Because I put you in this situation. You grabbed my arm, but I could have pushed you away. Could have ignored you. I didn't." He looked out the windshield. "That makes you my responsibility. I don't want to be anyone's responsibility." "Too bad. That's what you are now." He pulled out his phone and showed her a text message with her name, a description, and the address of her studio apartment. "This went out an hour ago. Valdez street dealers, runners, scouts. They're all looking for you. Some for money, some for respect. Do you understand what I'm saying?" She understood. She was being hunted. "So what do I do?" Her voice sounded small even to her own ears. "You have two choices," Dante said. "First choice, I give you $5,000 cash, a burner phone, and a head start. You leave New York tonight. Go somewhere random, Iowa, Montana, Florida, doesn't matter. You change your name, dye your hair, start over completely. Never come back. Never contact anyone from your old life. Eventually, maybe, the Valdez cartel loses interest. And the second choice. You stay with me, under my protection. I keep you safe while I figure out how to end this, either by convincing Valdez you're worthless or by making it too costly for them to keep coming after you." Alina laughed bitterly. "Those aren't really choices. The first one means I lose everything. My life, my identity, She stopped. What did she actually have to lose? Gigs? A job that barely paid rent? A studio apartment she'd only lived in for 3 weeks. "I know it's not fair," Dante said quietly. "Nothing about this is fair." She felt tears burning behind her eyes, but refused to let them fall. "I spent 3 years trapped with Ethan. I finally got away from him, and now I'm trapped again, just with different people. It's not the same, isn't it? You're telling me I have to hide, have to depend on someone else, have to give up control of my own life." She turned to him. "How is that different?" Dante's jaw tightened. "Because I'm not going to manipulate you. I'm not going to isolate you or gaslight you or make you doubt reality. I'm telling you the truth, even though it's ugly. And when this is over, if you survive, you can walk away. I won't stop you." "If I survive," Alina repeated. Yeah, he didn't sugarcoat it. "If." She looked out the window at the empty street, the dark warehouses, the city that had seemed full of possibility just this morning. She thought about running, getting on a bus with her $900 and disappearing into America's vast anonymity. Starting over with nothing, always looking over her shoulder, always wondering if they'd found her. Or she could stay. Trust this dangerous stranger who'd already saved her twice. Trust that he could actually protect her from something as terrifying as a cartel. "Why should I believe you'll keep me safe?" she asked. "You're one person. They're an organization. Because the Mendoza syndicate doesn't let anyone threaten what's ours," Dante said. "And I just claimed you as mine, accidentally, but I did. That means the full weight of our organization will come down on anyone who touches you. The Valdez cartel knows that. It's why they haven't moved yet. They're calculating whether you're worth starting a war over." "And are they right? Would there be a war? If they take you?" Dante met her eyes. Yes. The certainty in his voice should have been frightening. Instead, it was strangely reassuring. At least someone was willing to fight for her, even if the reasons were tangled up in pride and reputation and criminal politics. If I stay, Alina said slowly, what does that look like? I take you somewhere safe. You stay there until this is resolved. You don't leave without me. You don't contact anyone from your old life. You do exactly what I say when I say it. So, I'm a prisoner. You're protected, Dante corrected. There's a difference. Alina wasn't sure there was, but what choice did she have? Running meant being alone and hunted. Staying meant being caged but alive. How long? She asked. I don't know. At least he was honest. She took a deep breath. Okay, I'll stay. Dante drove them to a neighborhood Alina didn't recognize. Industrial buildings mixed with row houses, graffiti-covered walls illuminated by sodium streetlights. He pulled into an alley beside a 3-story brick building with a faded sign, Vega's Boxing Gym. This is the safe house, Alina asked skeptically. The apartment above it is. He parked and grabbed her backpack from the rear seat. The gym provides cover. Lots of people coming and going. And I can keep an eye on things. They entered through a side door that required 2 different keys. Inside, the smell of sweat and leather filled the air. The gym was dark except for emergency exit lights casting everything in red. This way, Dante said, leading her past a boxing ring, heavy bags hanging like bodies, weight racks organized with military precision. Everything was clean despite the building's worn exterior. Cared for. They climbed a narrow staircase to the 2nd floor, then another to the 3rd. Dante unlocked a heavy steel door, the kind that wouldn't break easily, and gestured for her to enter. The apartment surprised her. She'd expected something sparse and masculine, maybe even dirty. Instead, it was unexpectedly comfortable. Exposed brick walls, worn leather furniture, bookshelves packed with everything from philosophy to true crime. A small kitchen with clean counters. 2 doors leading to what she assumed were bedroom and bathroom. You live here? She asked. Sometimes. I have another place, but this one's more secure. He set her backpack on the couch. Bedroom's through there. Bathroom attached. There's food in the fridge. Help yourself to whatever. Don't open the windows. Don't go on the fire escape. And don't answer the door for anyone. What are you going to do? Make some calls. Figure out our next move. He pulled out his phone, then paused. You should get some sleep. It's almost 3 a.m. Alina hadn't realized how exhausted she was until he mentioned it. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her hollow and shaky. Will you be here? The question came out more vulnerable than she intended. On the couch. I'm a light sleeper. You'll be safe. She wanted to argue, to insist she didn't need a babysitter, but the truth was she felt safer with him nearby, even if he was the reason she needed protection in the first place. The bedroom was simple, a queen bed with dark sheets, a dresser, blackout curtains. She used the bathroom, washed her face, and lay down fully clothed on top of the covers. Through the door, she could hear Dante's low voice as he made his calls, words in Spanish she couldn't understand. Despite her exhaustion, sleep wouldn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ethan's face, the Valdez cartel scouts Dante had mentioned, imagined hands grabbing her in the dark. She'd escaped one trap only to fall into another. Eventually, she gave up and returned to the living room. Dante was sitting on the couch, phone in hand, looking tired in a way that made him seem almost human. Can't sleep? He asked. Can't stop thinking. She sat in the armchair across from him. Did you find anything out? Some. He set his phone down. The Valdez cartel is definitely interested. But they're not moving yet. They want to confirm you're actually important to me before they commit resources. How do they confirm that? They watch. They wait. They test. He rubbed his face. Meanwhile, your ex is still making noise. Calling around, asking questions. He's becoming a problem. Can you make him stop? I can try. But right now, he's not my priority. Keeping you alive is. The bluntness of it hit her again. This was real. This was her life now. Tell me about the gym, she said, changing the subject. You actually run a boxing gym? Dante looked surprised by the question.
Yeah.
Have for 6 years. Seems like an odd hobby for what did you call it? An enforcer? It's not a hobby. His voice carried an edge of defensiveness. It's legitimate. I teach kids from the neighborhood, keep them off the streets, give them structure, discipline. Some of them turn into decent fighters. Most just learn how to protect themselves. Kids, Alina repeated. You work for a crime syndicate, but you teach kids to box. The two aren't mutually exclusive. He stood and walked to the window, careful to stay to the side where he couldn't be seen from outside. Most of these kids come from nothing. Broken homes, no fathers, mothers working 3 jobs. The streets will eat them alive if someone doesn't give them an alternative. And that someone is you? Me and a few other coaches. But yeah, he was quiet for a moment. I grew up in this neighborhood. I know what it's like to have nothing, to feel like crime is your only option. If I can give some kid a different path, I do it. It was the most he'd said about himself since they met. Alina studied him, this man who'd protected her without question, who dragged her into danger, who apparently spent his days teaching children and his nights doing things he wouldn't specify for a criminal organization. You're not what I expected, she said. Yeah? What did you expect? I don't know. Someone colder. More. Monstrous, I guess. Dante's laugh was harsh. Give it time. You'll see the monster soon enough. I don't think I will. He turned to look at her, something unreadable in his expression. You should go back to bed. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. What happens tomorrow? I go talk to some people. You stay here where it's safe. Alone. There's security. Cameras, alarms, people I trust watching the building. He must have seen something in her face because his voice softened slightly. You'll be okay, Alina. I promise. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this nightmare would end and she'd walk away unharmed. But promises felt fragile in the face of cartels and violence. Still, she nodded and returned to the bedroom. This time, exhaustion won, and she fell into a dreamless sleep, Dante's presence in the next room the only thing keeping the nightmares at bay. Ethan Ward sat in his apartment, staring at his phone, the rejected call lighting up the screen for the 5th time. Alina wasn't answering. She never answered anymore. He poured another scotch, his 4th, or maybe 5th, and tried to understand where everything had gone wrong. 3 years together. 3 years of him supporting her, guiding her, helping her become better. And this was how she repaid him? Running into the arms of some tattooed criminal. The image of Dante Vega kept replaying in his mind. The way Ethan had instinctively stepped back, felt fear curl in his stomach. He hated that. Hated feeling weak. Hated that Alina had seen it. His phone buzzed. A text from his colleague Marcus. Dude, you still asking around about that Vega guy? Be careful. My cousin says he's connected to some serious people. Ethan had been making calls all night. To friends, acquaintances, anyone who might know about Dante Vega and how to get Alina away from him. The responses had been universally warning him off. But that only made him more determined. She was confused. Scared. Vega had manipulated her somehow, probably threatened her into going with him. Alina needed saving, and Ethan was the only one who truly understood her, truly loved her. She just couldn't see it yet. Another text, this one from a number he didn't recognize. Heard you're asking about Dante Vega. I might have information. Meet me. Ethan's pulse quickened. Finally, someone willing to help. He typed back. Where? The response came immediately. Rossi's bar. Red Hook. 30 minutes. He should have been suspicious. Should have wondered why a stranger would reach out. But desperation and alcohol had dulled his instincts. He grabbed his keys and headed out. Rossi's bar was a dive in every sense. Peeling paint, neon beer signs, the smell of stale cigarettes despite the smoking ban. Only 3 other people occupied the place, an old man nursing a beer at the bar and 2 younger guys in a corner booth. Ethan approached the booth. You the one who texted me. The larger of the 2 men, shaved head, neck tattoo of a scorpion, gestured to the empty seat. Seat. Ethan sat, his heart pounding. Up close, These men looked dangerous in a way his finance friends never did. Real danger, not the corporate backstabbing he was used to. You're asking about Dante Vega, Scorpion Tattoo said. It wasn't a question.
Yes.
He's got my girlfriend. I need to get her back. The two men exchanged glances. The second one, younger with a scar across his cheek, smiled. Your girlfriend? That's interesting. She didn't go with him willingly, Ethan insisted. He threatened her or something. She would never. What's her name? Scorpion Tattoo interrupted. Alina. Alina Torres. Ethan pulled out his phone, showed them a photo. Alina at a restaurant, smiling from 6 months ago when things were still good. She's 26, works as a waitress, lived on Hoyt Street until recently. Now I think Vega's hiding her somewhere. The men studied the photo with more interest than Ethan expected. And do you want her back? Scarface asked. Of course I do. I love her. Ethan's voice cracked slightly. We had a fight, she overreacted, and now this gangster has his claws in her. I just need to know where he's keeping her, so I can talk to her, make her understand. What if she doesn't want to come back? Scorpion Tattoo asked. She does. She's just confused right now. Ethan leaned forward. Look, I can pay. If you help me find her, I'll give you $5,000.
Cash.
Another exchanged glance. We might be able to help, Scarface said slowly. But we need more information. Where does she usually go? What's her routine? Friends, family, places she feels safe. Ethan felt a surge of hope. She doesn't have much family. Her mom died 2 years ago. She has a friend named Maya Chen, lives in Queens. She used to go to this cafe in Park Slope every Sunday morning, the one with the blue awning. And before she moved, she lived at 342 Hoyt Street, apartment 3B. The men were taking notes on a phone now. Any other places? Habits we should know about. She goes running sometimes. Used to, anyway, before I told her it wasn't safe. Ethan was talking faster now, eager to help. She likes old bookstores, especially the Strand. And there's this Italian restaurant in her old neighborhood, Gianna's. She loved their tiramisu. I took her there for our anniversary. Good, Scorpion Tattoo said. This is helpful. What about her car? Does she drive? No car. She takes the subway everywhere. I tried to buy her a car, but she said she didn't need 1 inch. The memory stung. Another way she'd rejected his care. Scarface stood up. We'll look into this. Give us your number. We'll contact you when we find something. Ethan rattled off his number, feeling lighter than he had in hours. Finally, people who understood. People who would help him get Alina back where she belonged. Remember, he added, she's not a criminal or anything. She's just a normal girl who got caught up in something bad. Don't hurt her. I just want to talk to her. Sure, Scorpion Tattoo said, his smile not reaching his eyes. We'll be real gentle. Ethan left the bar feeling hopeful for the first time all night. He didn't notice the two men immediately pull out phones and start texting in rapid Spanish. Didn't understand that he'd just handed over every piece of information the Valdez cartel needed to confirm Alina Torres was exactly who they thought she was. And he definitely didn't realize he'd just made her infinitely more valuable and more vulnerable than she'd been an hour ago. Alina woke to sunlight streaming through the blackout curtain's edges and the sound of voices below. For a confused moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. Ethan, the club, Dante, the cartel. She checked her phone.
11:47 morgens.
She'd slept for almost 9 hours. The voices grew louder, rhythmic counting, the thud of fists against leather. The gym was open. She showered quickly, borrowed one of Dante's t-shirts since hers was dirty, and ventured out of the bedroom. Dante was at the small kitchen table, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear. He acknowledged her with a nod but continued his conversation in Spanish. She caught the urgency in his tone even if she couldn't understand the words. He hung up as she poured coffee. Morning, he said, though his expression was grim. What's wrong? Your ex met with Valdez cartel members last night. Gave them everything, your full name, old addresses, habits, friends' names. He thinks he hired private investigators to find you. Dante's jaw was tight. He gave them a roadmap. Alina's coffee cup trembled in her hand. He wouldn't. Ethan's not violent. He wouldn't work with criminals, too. He doesn't know their cartel, Dante interrupted. He thinks they're just street guys who can track you down. But he handed them exactly what they needed to confirm you're real, that you matter. You're not just some random girl anymore. You're a verified target. What does that mean? Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He read the message and swore viciously.
Get dressed.
Real clothes. Shoes you can run in.
Why?
What's happening? They're moving. Now he was already at the door, pulling a gun from somewhere she hadn't seen. Stay in the apartment. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. Dante. Now, Alina. She ran to the bedroom, heart hammering, pulled on her jeans, her sneakers, stuffed her mother's bracelet in her pocket. Through the floor, she heard the gym go suddenly quiet, then shouting. Gunshots. The sound was nothing like in movies, sharper, louder, terrifyingly real. Alina dropped to the floor instinctively, crawling toward the bedroom door. More shots. Breaking glass. Men yelling in Spanish and English. The steel door to the apartment burst open. Dante backed through it, gun raised, firing down the stairwell. Blood streaked his arm. We're leaving. Fire escape, now. You said don't go on the fire escape. That was before they came through the front. He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the window. Behind him, footsteps pounded up the stairs. He shoved the window open and pushed her through onto the metal grating. The November air bit at her face. Below, she could see an alley 3 stories down. Climb, Dante ordered, firing back through the window. The returning gunfire was deafening. Alina's hands shook as she grabbed the ladder, feet finding rungs, moving down as fast as she dared. Above her, Dante was right behind, still firing periodically. She heard him grunt in pain. Keep moving. Her foot slipped on the wet metal. She caught herself, kept climbing. 2 stories down. 1 story. Her feet hit the alley pavement, and Dante dropped beside her, landing hard. Run. They sprinted down the alley toward the street. Behind them, men were already on the fire escape, shouting. More gunshots ricocheted off brick. Dante's SUV was blocked by 2 cars, a deliberate trap. He changed direction, pulling her toward a different street, weaving between parked vehicles. His breathing was labored, his arm bleeding more heavily now. You're shot, Alina gasped.
I've fine.
Keep running. They burst onto a busier street. People scattered, screaming. A car screeched around the corner, heading straight for them. Dante shoved Alina between 2 parked cars, just as bullets shattered the windshield behind them. He returned fire, 3 controlled shots. The attacking car's tire exploded, and it swerved into a light post. This way. Dante grabbed her again, leading her through a bodega's open door. The owner shouted in Spanish. Dante responded, urgent, and the man pointed to the back. They ran through the storage room and out into another alley. A different car was waiting, older, nondescript. Dante practically threw Alina into the passenger seat and peeled out before she'd even closed the door. What about the gym? She asked, breathless. The kids weren't there yet. Morning session ends at 11-inch. He was driving one-handed, his injured arm pressed against his side, leaving blood on his shirt. They timed it for that. They knew the schedule. How? Because they've been watching for days. Planning this, he took a sharp turn, checking mirrors obsessively. This wasn't opportunistic. This was a coordinated hit. Alina looked at him, really looked. His face was pale under the olive skin, jaw clenched against pain. Blood was seeping through his fingers. You need a hospital.
Can't.
They'll be watching hospitals. He handed her his phone. Call the number labeled Doc. Tell him we're coming in hot. She made the call, gave their location when Doc asked. He told them where to meet. Dante, she said after hanging up, you almost died back there. Those people almost killed you. Because of me. Not because of you, he said through gritted teeth. Because of what you represent. There's a difference. I don't see how. He looked at her briefly, something fierce in his expression. You didn't ask for this. You didn't deserve this. None of this is your fault. But sitting in that car, watching him bleed, the city blurring past them as they ran from people who wanted to hurt her, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that she destroyed everything she'd touched. She'd wanted freedom and instead brought violence. I'm sorry, she whispered. Save it, Dante said. We're not done yet. Doc turned out to be a 60-year-old former Army medic named Rodriguez who operated out of a house in Staten Island. He asked no questions, just stitched Dante's arm with efficient precision while Alina sat in the corner, still shaking. Through and through, Doc said in accented English. You're lucky. Quarter inch to the left, and it would have hit the artery. I'm always lucky, Dante muttered, then winced as Doc pulled the thread tight. You're always reckless, Doc corrected. This girl worth all this blood? Dante glanced at Alina. Wasn't her choice. Doc grunted, applied bandages, and handed Dante a bottle of pills. Antibiotics. Take them all. And rest. That means no gunfights for at least 3 days. I'll try. You won't, Doc looked at Alina. You keep an eye on him. He's stubborn. 20 minutes later, they were back in the car. Dante drove south, away from the city, his freshly bandaged arm stiff, but functional. Where are we going? Alina asked.
Away.
The gym's compromised. My apartment's probably watched. We need distance while I figure out the next move. They drove in silence through industrial areas, past strip malls and housing developments, the city gradually giving way to suburbs and then stretches of highway bordered by bare trees. Alina watched it all blur past, feeling untethered from reality. You should have let them take me, she said finally. Dante's hands tightened on the wheel.
No.
You got shot protecting me. Your gym got shot up. People could have died. But they didn't. This time, she turned to face him. How many more times, Dante? How many more ambushes before someone does die? Before you die. That's not going to happen. You don't know that. You can't promise that. Her voice rose. This is insane. I should turn myself into them. Tell them I'm nobody, that you don't actually care about me. They won't believe you, his voice was hard. And even if they did, do you think they'd just let you go? You've seen too much now. You're a loose end. The truth of it settled over her like a weight. There was no walking away anymore. No surrender that would set her free. I just wanted to escape, Ethan, she said quietly. That's all I wanted. I know. They drove for another hour. The sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Dante took an exit onto back roads, narrow lanes cutting through farmland and scattered houses. Finally, he turned onto an unmarked dirt road that led to an old farmhouse set back from the main road, surrounded by empty fields. Where are we? Pennsylvania. About 90 miles from the city, he parked behind the house, hidden from the road. It's a Mendoza property. Safe house for when things get complicated. The farmhouse was weathered but solid, white paint peeling, a sagging porch, but the windows were intact and the door had a heavy new lock. Inside, it smelled like dust and old wood, but it was clean. Someone maintained it. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen with outdated appliances, a living room with furniture covered in sheets. Dante pulled the sheets off, revealing a couch and chairs that had seen better days, but were serviceable. There's a generator if the power's out, he said, checking the kitchen. Canned food in the pantry. We should be good for a few days at least. And then what? Then I get word to the Mendoza leadership about what happened. We respond. We end this. He was moving stiffly, the pain clearly bothering him despite the medication. Sit down, Alina said. You need to rest. I need to make calls. You need to sit down before you pass out, she pointed to the couch. 5 minutes. Then you can save the world. He studied her for a moment, then complied, sinking onto the couch with a barely suppressed groan. Alina found a glass, filled it with water from the tap, and brought it to him along with the antibiotic pills. Thank you, he said, taking them. She sat in the chair across from him. The farmhouse was quiet except for the wind rattling the windows. The adrenaline that had carried her through the day was finally fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Can I ask you something? She said. Yeah. Why did you really help me? That first night in the club, you didn't know who I was, what I was running from. You could have ignored me, but you didn't. Dante was quiet for a long moment, staring at his bandaged arm. You looked terrified, he finally said. Really terrified. Not the fake kind people use to manipulate you, but genuine fear. He looked up at her. I've spent most of my life around predators. I know what they look like. And I saw one chasing you. So you protected me. Yeah, even though it cost you everything. Not everything, his voice was soft. Not yet. Alina felt something shift in her chest, a crack in the walls she'd built around herself during 3 years with Ethan. This dangerous man, who barely knew her, had risked his life twice now without hesitation, had bled for her, while Ethan, who claimed to love her, had sold her out to monsters. I don't know how to repay you, she said. You don't have to. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? Dante smiled slightly, tired. I don't know. I've never done this before. Outside, the sun finally set, plunging the farmhouse into darkness. Dante found candles and a battery-powered lantern. They ate canned soup heated on the gas stove, sitting at a kitchen table scarred with decades of use. For the first time since the club, Alina felt something almost like peace. The danger was still there, lurking just beyond the farmhouse walls. But in this moment, in this quiet space, she could almost breathe. The first 2 days at the farmhouse passed in a strange sort of limbo. Dante made calls constantly, speaking in rapid Spanish, his frustration growing with each conversation. Alina tried to make herself useful, cooking the limited supplies they had, keeping the place clean, anything to feel less like a burden. On the third night, she found Dante on the porch despite the cold, staring out at the dark fields. You should be resting, she said, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders as she joined him. Can't sleep. He had a cigarette between his fingers, half burned. Keep thinking about the gym. The kids who train there. They're asking when it'll reopen. Will it? Eventually. Once we clean up the damage, convince parents it's safe again. He took a drag. If they come back at all. The weight in his voice made her chest ache. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. He didn't sound angry, just tired. I knew the risks when I got into this life. Did you? She sat on the porch steps. Know the risks, I mean. When you started. Dante was quiet for a moment. I was 15 when the Mendoza syndicate recruited me. My father was dead. My mother was working herself to death, trying to feed 4 kids. My younger brother Miguel needed medicine we couldn't afford. My sisters were 8 and 10, wearing shoes with holes in them. He flicked ash from the cigarette, his eyes distant. A Mendoza lieutenant saw me fighting in the street, some older kids trying to shake me down for lunch money. I won. He offered me a job. $500 to stand on a corner and watch for cops. Simple, Dante laughed without humor. Easiest money I'd ever seen. So I said yes. And you couldn't get out, Alina guessed. Didn't want to at first. The money was good. Miguel got his medicine. My sisters got new shoes, new clothes. My mother could work 1 job instead of 3. I thought I was saving my family. He stubbed out the cigarette. By the time I realized what I'd actually done, traded my soul for cash, I was too deep, too valuable, too dangerous to let go. Where are they now? Your family? Miguel's in college.
Preme, full scholarship.
The twins, Maria and Sofia, they're in high school. Honor roll students. My mother runs a small restaurant in Queens. His voice carried a mix of pride and pain. They don't know the details of what I do. They think I'm just a businessman who owns a gym. I keep it that way. They're safe because of you, Alina said softly. They're safe because I became the thing I was trying to protect them from. He turned to look at her. That's the price. You save the people you love by damning yourself. Alina understood that kind of sacrifice more than she wanted to admit. She'd stayed with Ethan far longer than she should have because leaving felt impossible, because he'd isolated her so completely that she'd forgotten what freedom looked like. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "About Ethan? If you want to." She pulled the blanket tighter. "Everyone thought we were perfect together. He was successful, charming, attentive. In the beginning, he made me feel special. Like I mattered. The memories tasted bitter. But then little things started changing. He didn't like my friends, said they were bad influences. Didn't want me working late shifts, said he worried about my safety. Wanted to know where I was all the time, said it was because he loved me." "Classic isolation tactics," Dante said quietly. "I didn't see it. Not until I was so alone that he was my entire world." She felt tears prick her eyes. "He never hit me, never even raised his voice much. But he made me doubt everything, my memories, my perceptions, my worth. By the end, I believed I was the problem. That I was ungrateful, crazy, impossible to love." "You're not," Dante said firmly. "None of that was true. I know that now. But it took so long to see it." She wiped her eyes. "The night I ran, I'd finally saved enough money to leave. I was so scared he'd find out, that he'd stop me. When I saw his car outside my new apartment, I thought I'd never escape. That he'd control me forever. But you did escape. Into worse danger." "Different danger," Dante corrected. "But you're not controlled anymore. You're not isolated. And you're not doubting reality. You're seeing it clearly, probably for the first time in years." She looked at him. This man who'd killed people, who worked for criminals, who lived in violence, but who also taught kids to box, protected his family, and had risked everything for a stranger. "You're a good person," she said. "Despite everything, you're good. Don't make me into something I'm not, Alina. I'm not. I'm just seeing what's there." She stood, the blanket falling from her shoulders. "You could have let them take me. Could have walked away at any point. But you didn't. That means something." Dante stood too, towering over her in the darkness. "You don't know what I've done. The people I've hurt." "You're right. I don't," she held his gaze. "But I know what you've done for me. I know you got shot protecting someone you barely know. I know you're more worried about your gym kids than your own injuries. That tells me who you really are." He was close now, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him despite the cold air. His injured arm hung at his side, but his good hand came up slowly, carefully, as if asking permission. When she didn't move away, his fingers brushed her cheek. "You should go inside," he said, voice rough. "It's too cold out here." But neither of them moved. The space between them felt charged, full of things neither knew how to say. Two people running from their pasts, trapped in an impossible present, uncertain if they even had a future. Finally, Alina stepped back. "Good night, Dante." "Good night." She went inside, but she felt his eyes on her until she closed the bedroom door. Alina woke to Dante's voice raised in anger, speaking rapid Spanish into his phone. Dawn light filtered through the bedroom curtains. She dressed quickly and found him pacing the kitchen, his face dark with fury. He ended the call and slammed his phone on the counter. "What happened?" she asked. "Intel came through. About your ex." Dante's voice was tight with controlled rage. "He's been in contact with the Valdez cartel for the past week. Not just giving information, actively coordinating with them." Alina felt her stomach drop. "What do you mean coordinating?" "He's arranged a meeting tomorrow night at the old pier on the Hudson River. He's agreed to deliver you to them personally in exchange for $50,000. The words didn't make sense at first. "Deliver me? But I'm not with him. How would he? He doesn't have you." "Not yet." Dante pulled up something on his phone and showed her. "Text messages. He's been telling them he can convince you to meet him, that you still love him, that you'll come if he says the right things. He set the meet for 10 p.m. tomorrow. He thinks you'll show up alone and he'll hand you over to the cartel." Alina felt sick. "He's selling me." "Yeah." "For money."
"Yeah."
She sat down heavily. All those years Ethan had claimed to love her, had said he couldn't live without her, had insisted everything he did was for her own good. And now he was literally selling her to criminals. The good news, Dante continued, is that we know their plan. The Valdez cartel thinks they're getting you gift-wrapped. They're bringing minimal security because they think it's a simple pickup. And the bad news? The bad news is that Ethan's involvement has given them confirmation you're valuable. Even if we stop this meeting, they'll keep coming. They won't stop until they have you, or until the cost becomes too high. Alina looked up at him. So, what do we do? Dante sat across from her, his expression serious. We have options. Option 1. You disappear. I arrange new identity papers, set you up somewhere far away with enough money to start over. You never come back to New York. And option 2. We end this. Tomorrow night, he leaned forward. We let the meeting happen, but on our terms. The Mendoza syndicate intercepts the handoff. We catch Ethan in the act of collaborating with the Valdez cartel, get evidence, hand him to the authorities. And we make it clear to Valdez that you're not worth a war. How do we make that clear? By showing strength. By proving that taking you means starting something they can't finish. His eyes were hard. The Mendoza syndicate brings overwhelming force. We don't just stop the meeting, we send a message. Alina processed this. So, I'd be there? At the pier? You'd be bait. Protected bait. I'd have 20 armed men within 50 yards, but yes. You'd need to be visible for the trap to work. And Ethan? Gets arrested. Conspiracy to kidnap, working with organized crime. He'll go to prison for years. Maybe not as many as he deserves, but enough. The thought of Ethan in prison should have felt like justice. Instead, it just felt hollow. 3 years of her life wasted on someone who'd valued her so little he'd sold her to criminals. There's a third option, Dante said quietly. You run and I end this myself. Without you. I meet Ethan, deal with the cartel, finish it. You'd be safe either way. But you'd never get closure. Never get to face him. Never get to tell him exactly what he did to you. Dante's voice was gentle. Sometimes victims need that. Need to look their abuser in the eye and take their power back. Alina thought about the 3 years of manipulation, the isolation, the gaslighting, the way Ethan had made her doubt her own sanity. And now this, the ultimate betrayal. Selling her like property. If I run, I'm still running, she said slowly. Still letting him control my life. Still letting fear make my decisions. Running is smart sometimes. Maybe. But I'm tired of running. Tired of being afraid. She met Dante's eyes. I want to finish this. I want him to see that he doesn't own me. That he never did. It'll be dangerous. Even with protection, things can go wrong. Things have already gone wrong. At least this way, I'm choosing what happens next. She felt something fierce kindle in her chest. For 3 years, Ethan made every choice for me. What I wore, who I saw, how I spent my time. This is my chance to choose for myself. Dante studied her for a long moment. You're sure? I'm sure. He nodded slowly. Okay. Then we do this your way. But you follow my instructions exactly. When I say run, you run. When I say get down, you get down.
No hesitation.
Agreed. Agreed. And Alina? His voice carried a weight she couldn't identify. Whatever happens tomorrow night, I'll keep you safe. I promise you that. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that this plan would work, that she'd walk away unharmed, that justice would actually prevail. But she'd learned the hard way that promises were fragile things. Still, looking at Dante, this man who'd bled for her, who'd upended his life to protect her, she found herself believing anyway. I trust you, she said. The words felt like a leap of faith, like stepping off a cliff and hoping someone would catch her. Dante's expression softened. Then, let's end this. They spent the rest of the day planning. Dante made calls, coordinated with the Mendoza syndicate, mapped out the pier location. Alina listened, learned, prepared herself for what was coming. Tomorrow night, she'd face Ethan one final time. And this time, she wouldn't be the one running. The old pier jutted into the Hudson River like a broken finger, surrounded by abandoned warehouses and rusted shipping containers. The November wind carried the smell of salt water and industrial decay. At 9:45 p.m., the area was deserted except for the scattered yellow lights from distant buildings across the water. Alina stood near the edge of the pier, exactly where Dante had positioned her. She wore a wire under her jacket, Dante's insurance that everything would be recorded. Around her, hidden in the shadows and containers, 20 Mendoza syndicate members waited. Dante was closest, crouched behind a shipping crate 15 yards away, his gun ready. "You okay?" His voice came through the tiny earpiece hidden beneath her hair. "No," she whispered, "but I'm ready." At 9:58, headlights appeared. The silver Lexus. Ethan parked 50 yards from the pier and got out, adjusting his coat, checking his phone. He looked nervous but excited, like he was about to close a business deal. Alina's hands clenched into fists. Ethan saw her, and his face lit up. "Alina, you came?" He started walking toward her, arms half open as if expecting a hug. "I knew you would. I knew deep down you still." "Stop," she said, her voice carrying across the empty space. "Don't come any closer." He paused, confusion crossing his features. "What's wrong? I thought we could talk. Really talk, without all the drama and that criminal influencing you." "You mean Dante Vega? The man you've been asking about all week?" Alina's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "The man you told the Valdez cartel about." Ethan's expression faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about. I just hired some people to help me find you." "You hired cartel members, Ethan. You gave them my information, my routines, my friends' addresses." She took a step toward him. "And you arranged to hand me over to them tonight for $50,000. That's not, you don't understand." His face went pale. "They told me they were private investigators. I was just trying to save you from that gangster." "Don't lie to me." Her voice cracked. "Not anymore. I have the text messages. I have recordings. I know exactly what you did." "Alina, please." "You sold me." The words came out raw. "You claimed you loved me for 3 years. Said you couldn't live without me. And the moment you couldn't control me anymore, you sold me to criminals." "It wasn't like that." Ethan's desperation was rising. "I was getting you back. They were going to take you away from Vega and bring you to me. I was saving you." "Saving me?" Alina laughed bitterly. "You destroyed me, Ethan. 3 years of making me doubt myself, isolating me from everyone, making me believe I was the problem. And when I finally escaped, you stalked me, found my new apartment. And when that wasn't enough, you tried to have me kidnapped. Because I love you." "No," she shook her head. "Love doesn't look like this. Love doesn't control and manipulate and sell someone to criminals. That's not love, Ethan. That's ownership. And I'm not your property." Movement in the shadows. 3 SUVs rolled up silently, doors opening. Men got out. Valdez cartel members, heavily armed. They'd arrived early, suspicious. "Stay calm," Dante's voice said in her ear. "We've got you." The lead cartel member, Scorpion Tattoo from the bar, approached with a weapon drawn. "Ethan Ward." Ethan turned, relief flooding his face.
Yes.
"Yes, that's me. This is her, Alina Torres. Just like I promised. Now about my money." "Change of plans," Scorpion Tattoo said. "We're taking you both." Ethan's relief turned to confusion.
"What?"
"No, we had a deal. You're a liability. You talk too much, know too much." The man gestured to his companions. "Grab them." That's when Dante stood up, gun aimed. "I don't think so." All around the pier, Mendoza syndicate members emerged from hiding, weapons raised. They outnumbered the Valdez crew 3-1. Laser sights painted red across the cartel members' chests. Scorpion Tattoo cursed in Spanish. "Vega, drop your weapons," Dante ordered. "You're surrounded. There's no way out that doesn't end with you dead." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then slowly, the Valdez members lowered their guns. Smart choice, Dante said. He nodded toward Alina. She's nobody. Not valuable, not important, not worth the war you'd start by taking her. You've been played. By him, Dante gestured to Ethan. He's been feeding you information, making her seem important, setting up this whole thing. All because he couldn't handle rejection. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. We called NYPD 10 minutes ago, Dante continued. Gave them an anonymous tip about cartel activity at this pier. They're coming. You can stay and get arrested, or you can leave now, and we forget this happened. Your choice. Scorpion Tattoo looked at Alina, then at Ethan, then back to Dante. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Dante said quietly. Unless you want to start a war over nothing. The Valdez members retreated to their vehicles and drove off, disappearing into the night just as police lights appeared in the distance. Ethan started toward his car, but two Mendoza members blocked his path. You're staying, Dante said. The police are getting an anonymous tip about you too.
Conspiracy to kidnap.
Working with organized crime. They'll find the text messages on your phone. The wire transfer you set up for the $50,000. All of it. You can do this. Ethan's voice rose to a shout. Alina, tell them. Tell them you'll come back to me, and this all goes away. Please. Alina walked toward him slowly. Up close, she could see the desperation in his eyes, the same desperation that had kept her trapped for 3 years. I hope prison teaches you something, she said quietly. Teaches you that people aren't possessions. That love isn't control. That no means no. Alina. Goodbye, Ethan. Police cars pulled onto the pier. Officers emerged, weapons drawn, ordering everyone to freeze. The Mendoza members had already vanished into the shadows like ghosts. Only Ethan remained, standing alone, finally facing the consequences of his actions. Dante appeared at Alina's side. Time to go. They walked away together as police swarmed Ethan. She heard him shouting her name, heard the protests die as handcuffs click shut. She didn't look back. 3 weeks later, Alina stood in front of Vega's boxing gym watching workers replace the shattered front windows. The bullet holes in the brick had been patched. Fresh paint covered the blood stains. It almost looked normal again. Kids start coming back next week, Dante said, coming up beside her with 2 coffee cups. He handed her one. Parents needed time to feel safe again. Can't blame them. Will they come back? Most of them. The ones who understand that what happened wasn't random violence, it was targeted. And it's over now. Over. The word felt strange. Ethan was awaiting trial, facing 15 years for conspiracy and attempted kidnapping. The Valdez cartel had pulled back after the pier incident, deciding Alina wasn't worth the escalation. The Mendoza syndicate had made it clear that further attempts would trigger a full-scale war. For the first time in months, Alina wasn't looking over her shoulder. I got the apartment, she said. The one in Park Slope I was looking at. They approved my application. Dante nodded, his expression carefully neutral. That's good. Safe neighborhood. Close to the subway. And I start the new job Monday. The bookstore on 5th Avenue. They hired me as assistant manager. You'll be good at that. You're organized, good with people. They stood in silence, watching the workers. Everything was wrapping up. The danger had passed. Ethan was locked away. Her new life was beginning. The life she'd been fighting for since that night she ran from her apartment. So, why did it feel hollow? You don't owe me anything, Dante said quietly, as if reading her thoughts. You know that, right? You can walk away. Start fresh. No one would blame you. I know. You've got your freedom back. Your life. That's what matters. Alina took a sip of coffee, buying time. The truth was complicated. The past 3 weeks at the farmhouse, then in a safe Mendoza apartment, she'd gotten to know Dante beyond the violence and danger. She'd seen him laugh at terrible jokes, watched him cook breakfast with surprising skill, listened to him talk about his dreams for the gym, maybe expanding, hiring more coaches, reaching more kids. She'd seen the man beneath the enforcer. and she'd started to fall for him. "What if I don't want to walk away?" she asked. Dante turned to look at her, surprise flickering across his face. "Alina, I know what you're going to say. That I'm confused, that this is just trauma bonding, that I don't really know what I want." She set down her coffee. "But I've spent 3 years with someone who told me what to think and feel. I'm not confused anymore. I know exactly what I'm feeling. You've been through hell. You need time to heal, to figure out who you are without someone controlling you. I am healing, and part of that is choosing what I want." She stepped closer to him. "You gave me something no one else ever has. You gave me choices. Real choices. Even when it would have been easier to just tell me what to do, you let me decide. At the pier, in the farmhouse, every step of the way. Because you deserved that autonomy." "Exactly. You saw me as a person, not a possession." She reached for his hand, felt him tense but not pull away. "Ethan claimed to love me, but he wanted to own me. You've never claimed anything, and yet you're the one who actually sees me." "It's different," Dante said, his voice rough. "I'm not a good man, Alina. The things I've done, the life I lead. I know who you are. I've seen it. All of it." She squeezed his hand. "And I'm not asking you to be someone different. I'm just asking if there's room in your life for me. Not because you have to protect me, not because you feel responsible, but because you want me there." Dante was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching her face. "You should have a normal life. Someone without blood on their hands. Someone who can give you peace." "I don't want normal. I want real." She moved closer, close enough to feel the warmth of him. "I want someone who sees me as an equal, who trusts me to make my own choices, who fights for me but doesn't fight for control over me." "Alina, do you want me to stay?" she asked directly. "Not because you should, not because it's logical, but because you want me to." His hand came up slowly, cupping her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything he was supposed to be. "Yes," he said finally, the word torn from somewhere deep. "God help me, yes." She smiled. "Then I'm staying." "You're sure?" "I'm choosing you, Dante. Freely. Fully. No coercion. No fear. No desperation. Just choice." He pulled her close then, his forehead resting against hers. "I don't deserve this. Don't deserve you. Maybe not. But you've got me anyway." He kissed her then, soft at first, then deeper. A kiss that tasted like coffee and promise and new beginnings. When they pulled apart, Alina saw something in his expression she'd never seen before.
Hope.
"So what now?" she asked.
Now.
Dante smiled slightly. "Now we figure it out. Together. One day at a time. No more running. No more running." They walked away from the gym together, hand in hand. Behind them, workers continued repairs on the building, fixing what was broken, making it whole again. Ahead of them, the city stretched out in afternoon sunlight, full of possibilities. Alina had escaped one cage, only to nearly fall into another. But she'd found something she never expected, someone who valued her freedom as much as she did. Someone who protected her without imprisoning her. She'd danced with a stranger to escape her toxic ex, unaware he was a Mafia enforcer who would change her life forever. But not by controlling it. By setting her free. And in that freedom, she'd chosen to stay. Not out of fear. Not out of obligation. But because love, real love, was a choice you made every day. And today she chose him. The end.